And we're live. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Gravitas live stream. Today is Sunday, April 25th.
It's a good day. It's a nice day
Yeah.
out. I don't know if it's a nice day out where you are, Max,
Yeah, it's a nice
or
day.
where the audience is, but it is a very nice day out. It was raining before. It was disgusting before, but now it's better.
Oh yeah,
What an
yeah.
allegory for
For this show
anything.
that we're getting started. Yeah.
Exactly.
So yes, today I'm here with Sebastian.
Hello.
And we are going to talk about taxonomy.
Taxonomy.
So, yeah.
You ever
Seem
notice
interesting,
how
this.
animals and plants, they have very easy names. You know them. Cat, dog, frog, and also some plants because I included them too. But then, sometimes, you see them being called by other names. Weird, unfriendly names in a demon language. Those, my friend, are Latin words.
Oh, Latin. Oh no.
A long time ago, a bunch of demon scientists decided that Latin should be the language used to determine a animal based or a plant based on its species, based on where it comes from, based on its ancestors, and general grouping.
I find it so funny, just as a quick aside, that today I would say Latin is associated with I don't know, satanic rituals, right?
Yeah.
Well, for hundreds of years in Europe, Latin was exclusively known by and used by, the Christian clergy for
Yeah.
religious purposes. So that's just sort of interesting that that's flipped.
Oh, how the turntables.
Yeah, now Latin is for edgy people.
Yeah.
Or just people that want to learn root words. That's another one. But
If someone near you knows Latin, contact an adult.
yes, exactly. Very, very good advice. So yeah, today we're going to talk about the different species
Yes,
and how they're classified.
We're gonna go through a
Yeah.
bunch of them. We're gonna go through all the 8 different groupings that scientists use to determine an animal or plant's name, and if you notice, or should I say, if you don't notice, the cursor is not being captured. Thank you.
Brilliant.
It took the greatest minds of our generation to figure out how to avoid this. But, wouldn't you know? We got it done.
Nice. So let's see. So are we ready to go?
Yeah, let's move right into the plugs.
All right. Okay, the plugs. Visit the Gravity Max website, gravitymaxmedia.com. There's things there. I'm really tired today. Just go there. Also, go to the social media on your favorite social media platforms. We have updates on whenever, say, a scheduling conflict occurs and something changes. This gives you updates so that you know when we are live on YouTube. And yeah, so that's useful. And then also follow Sebastian on social media, Instagram and YouTube at 128 seconds. He makes quick educational videos that are 128 seconds long. They're like the shorter counterpart to these lengthy live streams. The most recent one is still the Mars video, right?
Yes, it is, but one is coming out this Wednesday.
Nice. I am excited. I was just reminded, did you hear, this is sort of off topic, but did you hear that Elon Musk is going to host SNL on May 8th?
I did not hear that. That's interesting.
Yeah. I'm excited. That's probably the one time I'll watch SNL. I don't regularly watch SNL.
They fell
I
off.
just watch the clips when there's a good clip, but I'll probably watch that. So that's going to be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just basically on the topic of Mars, that reminded me. But anyway, so visit Sebastian's channel. And then also a somewhat odd start. It's my book. Maybe I should italicize it. Yeah. I don't like italicizing titles and stuff, but this live stream has just been full of italicizing because that's how you're supposed to do species names. And technically, you're also supposed to do that for books. But I'm like, this is a title. I don't know. Anyway, it's my sci-fi book. It's the third in a trilogy of stories that all have sort of continuity between each other. Yeah, it's been like I'm kind of like lost now. I'm just like, what do I do? Because I'm finished. I'm just like, I don't know what to do now. I am in between projects, so I'm just like, oh my god, I am just not going to get started on anything until all the finals are over. Which it's kind of weird. At my school, the finals process is like 5 weeks long because of AP mock exams and then real AP exams. I feel like at Staples, was it ever that long? I wonder. I don't think it was. Like, it was
we
always
got a
like
lot of final projects, but this is my first
yeah,
year being in an AP
AP.
class, but that's
Yeah,
not how it's shaping up to be.
yeah. I remember there. It's like they have finals week, just
Yeah.
1 week, and it's super condensed. But then the APs are just randomly, regardless of school. So that might stretch it out a bit more. But geez, I'm just like, oh my god. Starting on week 3 of just continuous finals. So,
Yeah.
but anyway, a lot of hard work went into this book. So go check it out. I estimated 200 hours like total. That was my estimate, but it sort of depends.
Very well done, man. Very well
Yeah, thank
done
you.
on completing the
Yeah,
trilogy.
exactly. So trilogy as a whole would probably be 600. But so there's a lot of things that like don't get counted. I don't know. It's sort of weird because sometimes I'll just do like world building for a few hours at a time, and I don't actually write a single word, and I'm like, okay. Whenever I do that, I always sort of have to try and bring myself back eventually and say, is this relevant to the plot at hand? This is just sort of an insight in the writing process a little bit, is that you want to flesh out everything so that you don't create plot holes, right? And you don't have to retcon things, but there comes a point where like the cost outweighs the benefit. You know what I mean? Um, you can approach an airtight story, but it increasingly diminishing returns takes forever. But yeah, anyway, buy the book. It's fun. I like it. So yeah. All right. So today's episode is Gravitas maximus livus streamia. That's the show. Yeah, that's the species. We're going to talk about different species, how they're classified. It's all subdivided. And it's interesting. The way that it's subdivided is pretty logical and straightforward, which I find, I mean, not to insult biology people, but I find that surprising for biology. Biology is usually very, I mean, loose and like flowy, but that sort of makes sense. Because it's to be fair, sometimes we have a problem as humans and as scientists of sort of over labeling things, over classifying things, like trying to be very precise about things, which is important, but like sometimes things just don't fit neatly into any classification. And I guess that's sort of true for animals. Like there's exceptions and stuff, but I think the taxonomical thing works pretty well. It's pretty interesting. And so then we'll just talk about some different animal species and yeah. Anything you have to say?
Let's jump right into it, into this
All right.
livus streamia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so let's start with ranks. So the way the ranking system, these are taxonomical ranks, and it's pretty interesting. So it's sort of like a library in a certain way, where each level describes a more specific location. Or you could say it's like an address, right? So you start with like, what country are we in? Then you go to what state are we in? What city? What road? what house number. That's like how an address narrows it down. Or if you think about a library, you could say, which building or which floor, which shelf, which, position on the shelf. That is what the taxonomy gives you, and it's very nice. It's very thorough, and I think it's great. I like it. I've been occasionally interested in just sort of, there's this website called ADW. I think it's like ADW, and they have an animal classification. They have a phylogenetic tree, which we'll talk about in a little while. But yeah, it's a animal diversity web, right? And they have this thing where you're able to, I could send you the link, Sebastian. Mm-hmm. You can click on the different sub classifications and get further down the tree of life. One thing I used to do, which I thought was kind of fun, was like a guessing game, a sort of guessing game, where I would go all the way to the start to Animalia. I don't know if you want to show it to everyone. I don't know if you.
Did you send it to me?
Yeah, I put it in the chat.
All right. Here, I think I should be. Yeah. So yeah, I'm doing a capture in a different way now. So, like, I'm able to bring it up.
Nice.
I will have to change it to capture it.
Okay. Yeah, but basically you're able to click on each thing and it'll take you down a step, right? Mm-hmm. And so I had this game with myself where I would pick a target animal mm-hmm. and then essentially zoom in and try to, guess the right path, sort of like a scavenger hunt or something. Try to get down the tree correctly.
Ooh, that's interesting.
And yeah, and it's pretty difficult if you don't know like what you're doing. Like, especially at the start, I am just like, like.
Yeah. If you guys want to check it out, it's animaldiversity.org.
Oh yeah, I should put it in the. I'll put it in the chat, or not the chat. Yeah. I could put it in the chat, but yeah, I'll put it in the description. So edit ADW phylogenetic tree. It's a pretty cool thing, right? I think it's cool. But yeah. So anyway, that's sort of an idea. So what we're going to do with these ranks is we're going to start with the least specific and then go down to the most specific, and sort of explain the different domains here.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we start with, and these have Latin names and English names. Latin is on the left here. So we've got regio, or domain. So the domains of life, there are a few main ones, I think. There's three. And so the three different ones are Archaea, bacteria, and Eukarya. And this is sort of interesting. We can talk about the differences between these three. As we get down the tree, there's going to be exponentially more different kind of groupings. So this is probably the only slide we're going to do this for. But you've got Archaea, which is, you've got single-celled organisms, and bacteria are also single-celled organisms. And then you've got Eukarya, which include multi-celled organisms as well as single-celled organisms, but the difference is that the cells are eukaryotes rather than prokaryotes. And the difference there is that eukaryotes contain organelles and mitochondria, whereas prokaryotes are a lot simpler. So yeah, powerhouse of the cell, right? I find that pretty interesting. The Archaea are kind of weird. It's because the Archaea split off from Eukarya more recently, but it's pretty easy, the distinction between bacteria and eukarya. Bacteria is like the original life that appeared on Earth. Hasn't changed much since.
Mhm.
I mean, it has, but, like single cell, simple cell. But the eukarya has changed quite a bit. And now Archaea, Archaea, I don't know as much about Archaea, but that's the main distinction here. And so all animals are within the domain of the eukarya. And the reason for that is that prokaryotic cells are not complex enough to form multicellular life. Since they don't have enough complexity within their own cell, it's like they're very bare bones. I mean, and they don't have bones, they're even more, too bare bones to even have bones. Because they can just execute the basic functions of life and that's it. Whereas our cells do a lot of extra things that don't necessarily continue the life of its own cell. It's kind of hard to explain, but it's like, I'm not really phrasing this well, but each individual cell of our body doesn't necessarily act in its own self-interest, which is great for us, because if they did, I think that would be a very quick death. If the cell is just suddenly snapped and started just acting in their own self-interest, because the cells carry out certain functions. The blood cells carry oxygen and other resources to the rest of the body. A prokaryote, which would not have enough, capacity to do that, could only, acquire those resources for itself and not actually spread it across the body. So that's just sort of like another example of how the cells don't really act in their own self-interest is apoptosis, which is this phenomenon when a cell gets extremely damaged. To prevent cancer, the cell will actually initiate cell death. So it will kill itself, essentially, for the sake of the rest of the body, which is pretty crazy. And that happens whenever you get a sunburn, essentially. It's weird, the microscopic world, what's going on beneath our eyes, we do not know. But yeah. So yeah, that's the domains of life, I guess. That's the biggest distinction here.
So what I was just looking at with the difference between, because Eukarya is obviously the one that you're probably going to run into the most, unless you're doing, work in a lab with a microscope and stuff like that. You're working on bacteria and stuff. Like we said, the Eukarya, eukaryotes, stuff like that, more than one cell, a nuclei, stuff like that. But Archaea used to be lumped in with bacteria, but they had to differentiate them. I don't exactly know why, and I don't know if you mentioned it, but for some reason there is a difference between Archaea and bacteria.
That's
it has so just me quickly googling it. Archaea has more RNA than bacteria. And Archaea has cell walls and stuff like that. So I'm guessing it's just they have more to them, even though they're still prokaryotic. They have more organelles, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense. The chief organelle that distinguishes a eukaryote from a prokaryote is the mitochondria, because as they say, it is the powerhouse of the cell. And while that is, a joke, it is also very serious. The amount of resources a cell is able to acquire, the amount of energy, is so much greater when it has mitochondria inside of it, that it has just so much more capabilities. But yeah, so that makes sense, because the Archaea split off from the Eukarya at a later date than the bacteria did. So they were along for the ride a bit longer in terms of development. Yeah, so so they're like an in between kind of thing. So that's interesting.
Yeah, but that's basically
Yeah.
domain the largest lens, the widest lens of looking at animals
Yep.
or
Or
plants
just life.
or
Yeah,
life.
just
Yeah.
life in general. Um, Although this doesn't include viruses, because above domain is life itself,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's some things that are like, and it's weird. I don't know,
But are
but yeah,
viruses alive though?
that is actually an open debate in the scientific
I would
community.
say.
I would say it's not a.
Mhm.
Here, I'm just going to say I would say it's not a particularly useful debate
It is
because
not.
we know what a virus is. We know what it does, and I would say that matters more than what we call it. You know, although philosophically it is a really important debate, but when it comes down to like say, I mean, we have this pandemic right now. The researchers that are developing a vaccine aren't sitting around going, I wonder, is a virus alive or not? No, all that matters to them is let's find a way to kill this thing to prevent it from spreading, at least if it's not considered alive. But sorry, go ahead. What's your take on it?
I would say they're just evil bastards,
They're evil.
and
Yeah.
I would say that evil, evil finds a way.
That's interesting. Um, well, I would say here's the thing: viruses aren't always bad. It's just that they tend to be.
Yeah.
Um,
Give me the
because
good
actually,
virus, CIA.
yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting. A lot of our genetic research, like one method of creating a GMO, is actually by using a virus. So what you do is you hijack a virus. Essentially, you take a virus shell, say of the flu, right?
Mm-hmm.
You remove all the fluey bits, that make it that give you, runny nose and high fever and all that stuff. You remove that RNA because it's a strand of RNA that reprograms your cell, and you insert a custom made, GMO sequence.
Mm-hmm.
You can insert a gene for, say, I don't know. I think they made goats that produce spider silk or something like that, right? So you insert
Spider goats.
the spider silk gene into the goat, um, and that's a virus that you could say is a good virus. Um, but I think most natural viruses are bad viruses, and the reason for that is that the successful continuation life strategy for a virus tends to be contrary to the successful continuation life strategy of an organism. Although sometimes you'll have a more ambivalent virus. Um, it really depends because there's different strategies. Some are like burn through the host fast and find a new host. Others are just sit there,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Because again, this is all like people often sort of personify natural selection, and that's something you have to avoid. Viruses have no brains, right? It is literally just a shell with a piece of code inside of it, right? And what nature is essentially doing is, casting these shells off into the wind. And if one of these shells happens to strike a cell that it can reprogram to produce more of that particular code, then that virus will reproduce and spread. And that is like, I mean, it's really interesting. That's sort of why there's a debate on whether or not it's alive, um, because it can reproduce, and I mean, that's about it. In terms of it can reproduce, and it does contain RNA, which are sort of two lifey things, but it does not respond to its environment, for one thing. If you,
Your
um,
mic kind of dropped out there
oh,
for a second.
oh, let's see. Is it fixed? Are we good?
Uh, no, you're still pretty quiet. I don't know what just happened right there. That
Are
was
we good?
interesting.
Here, wait. Sorry about that. Sorry, everyone. We good?
Nope. For some
No,
reason.
no. Okay.
Oh wait, hold on. Okay, wait. Now I'm seeing more green on the desktop audio. So maybe is that me? Say something.
Hello,
And we are
everyone.
back. All right.
Okay, cool.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah, I don't know. My headphones are kind of breaking down. I've had them for like 2 years. And they're wired headphones after 2 years. They are Apple though, which makes them higher quality. But anyway, what was I saying? But that's sort of why the debate is about are viruses alive or not. Because another thing that life is supposed to be able to do is react and respond to external stimuli. So say that you have a petri dish full of bacteria and you start heating it up past a survivable temperature. The bacteria will start freaking out. I mean, metaphorically, they have no brains, but they'll react, try and do things that remove excess heat. Whereas if you heat up a virus, it'll just sit there. The virus does not care. A virus does not have any emotions or agency. It just is. It's a very strange thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but yes, that sort of covers domain, I would say.
Yeah.
So next we go to kingdom, which we can actually talk about all the different kingdoms. I mean, not all. There's 6 different kingdoms here. 2 of them are just bacteria and archaea again, which is interesting. But then the other 4, which are contained within Eukarya, are Animalia, Plantae, Fungi, and Protista. So these different kingdoms, let's see. So Animalia is animals. That makes sense. The cells use mitochondria, cellular respiration. They are consumers, not producers. That's sort of the idea here. The plantae are producers. They have cell walls. Not all plants have cell walls, sorry. A lot of them. I'm not sure about that. I'm not entirely sure there.
I believe all plants do.
Okay, all plants do? Okay. They just have varying strengths of their cell walls, because a tree, you know, if you're going to kick a tree, you're probably not going to have a good time. But if you kick like a flower, it's going to get murked.
Plants have cell walls.
But they all have chlorophyll. They all rely on photosynthesis to generate energy. So that's one thing I can say for sure.
I'm pretty sure every plant cell does have a cell wall.
Okay. Yeah, no. That makes sense. I think you're right. About that. So then another difference, fungi are pretty similar to Animalia, actually. Fungi are more closely related to Animalia than they are to Plantae. And that's because they are also consumers or decomposers, but the method of energy generation is still the same. They intake materials, and through the process of cellular respiration, they produce energy, whereas plants do not do that. So, yeah, animals are actually more closely related to fungi than to plants, which is just sort of interesting and not thought about often. But then you get the Protista, and that's an interesting one. I think they are mostly single-celled organisms, single-celled eukaryotes, though, and just sort of weird.
Yeah,
they just don't fit into anything else.
They are protists. They are basically the other category. The definition of a protist is any eukaryotic organism that is not an animal, plant, or fungus.
Yeah, so pretty vague there, but you know.
So some protists such as algae, amoebas, and some slime molds. Everyone loves a good slime mold.
Oh yeah, good slime mold. Yeah, but this is interesting. So we're obviously in the Animalia category. Um, oh, and what we're doing here on the slides, the pictures that we're using, we are slowly zooming in onto one animal that we'll get to eventually. Uh,
Yes.
so that's just interesting. You'll find out. Um, but yeah, that sort of gives you that.
When.
I mean, people always talk about like the animal kingdom,
Mhm.
or like it's pretty broad, but it is pretty useful though. I feel like it's a useful sort of
Yeah,
distinction.
absolutely. When a lot of people think that kingdom is the first rank, not a lot of
Mm,
people actually
yeah.
pay attention to the domain. Because like if you just Google any animal right now, you go to Wikipedia on the right, it'll go through all of or a decent amount of the ranks, but it's going to start with the kingdom. It doesn't start with the
Hmm.
domain. So a lot of people think that just the kingdom is the start, and it's pretty easy to see why, because that's when it starts getting decently diversified. Because a lot of people just, when you say like life, people's minds don't go to bacteria really,
Yeah.
or archaea, which
Yeah,
is
and it is
almost bacteria.
interesting because another reason is that there is a lot more diversity within Eukarya than there is within bacteria and Archaea. Um, Bacteria and Archaea both just have one kingdom within them,
Hmm.
whereas uh, Eukarya has four, as we can see. So, and that just speaks to the difference between eukaryotic and prokaryotic life. Eukaryotic life, there's so much more potential, so many more different possibilities than when you just have a single-celled organism.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say about that. But
Yeah. We are now on to phylum, or
yeah.
division.
All right. So, oh yes, and so that's not Latin. Oh, okay. So the way it works here, this is a weird one. So phylum is is the Latin word for it, but it is also the English word for animal phylums or phyla. I don't know. Uh, and only if you're talking about plants would you say division. So that's very important here. This isn't just like an esoteric Latin name. This is also what you would call it for all animals. Um, so yeah, let's see. Uh, so I'm just trying to think about phylum here. I'm
Hmm.
trying to find some information here. Um,
This is when it gets like very diversified.
yeah, and it gets harder to talk about the sort of differences here. Um, but it's
Um, just starting with
yeah.
the animal kingdom. The animal
Mhm.
kingdom has seven. I'm looking at seven right now.
Hmm.
Seven
I
main.
have I
Yeah,
have a few more, but
a few more.
yeah.
Ooh.
But yeah, go ahead.
Which is Porifera. Um, don't know how to say that one. It's the one that starts with the CN that I've seen a lot. The um, Indaria.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
Cnidaria. Yeah,
Cnidaria, I
Cnidaria.
think.
That's yeah.
Um,
Okay.
these are tough.
Yeah.
Platyhelminths, methines, and then Annelida, Mollusca, Arthropoda, and Chordata. Um,
Mhm.
so the one out of those, the ones I've seen the most are Cnidaria, Arthropoda, and Chordata.
Mhm.
But I'm
Yeah.
sure that we, know animals that fall under all of these
Hmm.
phylums.
Yeah. I would say the chordata are the most developed. I'm pretty sure. I mean,
Yeah,
I guess it depends. They're more complex, I would say. Uh,
Okay, let's see here. Okay,
yeah,
so
because
the first one I said porifera are sponges. Um,
mhm, yeah. So
so
there's
yeah,
the difference here between the different phylums is you've got some very simple animals and some much more complex animals.
yes,
You've got, say, jellyfish are in a different phylum than we are, which is Chordata. Um, and that's the picture we
right,
have
and
here.
the
This is of chordates.
yes, the
Um,
unifying thing that you're gonna see along the Chordata phylum is that there is an emphasis on nerve connections and
mm,
cartilage supporting nerves along a spine or another animal's version of a spine. So it has something to do with also being vertebrates.
yeah. That's an important one. So
Yeah,
this is interesting.
it is
Um,
interesting.
there's
So
a
yeah,
lot. There's a lot here. Uh,
a lot of them usually have like one unifying trait. Like the
mhm,
porifera, those are all sponges. The cnidaria, all of them are like blobby. Like a lot of like anemones, so, like a lot of undersea creatures are. I think they might all be
mhm,
undersea. There are some that are just like flatworms. Um, the mollusca thing has exoskeletons and chitin, such as the shells of snails, stuff like that. So more unifying traits along the phylums, but there is still a lot of diversity in a phylum. Like for example, going back to mollusca, both snails and let's see, both snails and octopi are
hmm.
in mollusca. I'm pretty sure. Let me check that.
That's interesting. Um,
Yes, it is.
hmm.
So yeah, that's interesting. But if we go over to plant phylums, I just want to see very quickly.
Plant divisions. I guess it's
Yeah.
divisions or phylums. But if you're going to say phylums, then it's in Latin
Hmm.
now. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in again with animals, phylum can be English or Latin. With plants, phylum is the Latin and division is the English. Um,
Yeah. So
I wonder if they have different plurals. I wonder if the English phylum is phylums and then the Latin phylum is phyla.
hmm.
Right? I mean, that would make sense, but gosh, that would be complicated.
So yeah, there's a lot. I'm seeing about 14
Hmm.
plant divisions. The kingdom Plantae is divided into 14 divisions. Um, so yeah, there's 14. You can look them up, but just some distinctions about them. Like there are some mosses. There are other ones that have like stems, flowers are their own thing. Um,
Yeah, that
so
makes
that's
sense.
interesting. So that's again, you have more shared physical characteristics along each individual division, but there is still a decent amount of diversity because again we're only at like the
Yeah,
third level.
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, that. Yeah, there you go. Um, I don't have anything else to say here.
Look for a mollusca near you.
A mollusca.
All right, now we are
Uh,
on to classes.
yeah. So classes. Uh, classes become a little more specific. So the pictures we have here, these are all of the Mammalia class, um, which that's we're in the Mammalia class too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so uh, so the Mammalia is defined by warm blood, right? Um, I think there are some. I maybe not to that. I think there are some exceptions to what I'm going to say. Warm blood, live births, uh, and lactation, I think, defines mammalia. And that gives it its name, actually. The last one, mammalia, is determined by the mammary gland, that being, for lactation. But there is like an exception, like you've got the platypus, which lays eggs rather than doing live births, but is still determined to be in the mammalia class. And it's sort of interesting. You could think about it in a few different ways. You could think of it like convergent evolution. So you've got some sort of mammal enters an environment where it would be beneficial to lay eggs instead of have live births. And so eventually it might develop that trait. Now, genetically speaking, it would still be a mammal, and if you look at its ancestry, it would come from mammalian, species, but it would lay eggs like a bird or a reptile. But that doesn't mean it's more related to a reptile than it is to other mammals. So, these rules are general, and there are occasional exceptions. And it is pretty interesting because it makes you think about like evolution and stuff. Eventually, all of the classes and maybe all of the phylums, but as we get farther and farther down, certain entire groups will go extinct. Like not just a species will go extinct, but you could have a genus go extinct or a family go extinct. Even say a class. I mean, think of the dinosaurs, right? That's a lot of different species. I forget what they were. I think they were you had the sauropods and the theropods. I think those were clades, which I think clade might be the word for class, but extinct now. I'm not entirely sure on that. But, it's things like that. One day there may not be any mammals. It all depends on the whims of evolution. So yeah.
So mammalia has mammalia is a class, and of chordata, there are I'm seeing 5 main ones or 5 of them are the most common, which are just fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. But each of those have actual names, and I believe fish can be split up into 3 categories actually. But that's what we're pretty familiar with. If you ask people to just start naming animals, they're probably going to hit along those classes.
Lines. Yeah, actually, yeah. Let's get those classes. I'm trying to find a list here, but I saw that you've got amphibia, which would be amphibians.
I got so this one has
another class, aves, which would be the birds. Reptilia would be the reptiles. Then they've got Sarcopterygil, which is lobe-finned fish. So there you get the more what's it? More obscure ones. You've got Neopterygil, I'm guessing another kind of fish. Oh wait, sorry, that's a subclass, so it doesn't count. So no, forget that. Another class is Actinopterygil, and that's ray-finned fish instead of lobe-finned fish, which was the last one. So yeah, these are the different types of fish you were talking about, right? And then you've got Acanthodi, another type of fish, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
so,
a lot of fish.
Lots of fish. Placodermi, another sort of ocean thing.
Ocean thing, yeah. That's all biology, man. It's just ocean things.
Yeah, it's all ocean things.
Land things.
Into land things. But yeah, if we're just focusing on the land, it's mammalia, aves, reptilia, and amphibia, it looks like. And they are all part of the superclass called tetrapoda. And these are four-limbed animals constituting the superclass Tetrapoda. It includes extant and extinct amphibians, reptiles, synapsids, So that's another thing here. Other scientists will include, superclass, subclass. All of these different things have them. You probably get superphylums, subphylums. As you go down, you'll get the superorders, the suborders. But we're just talking about the main things here, the main divisions, because that would take forever. But also, it like gets ever more complicated. The point here, again, is to sort of show the relation between animals as well as to classify them, which is just interesting. The system is supposed to put things that are more closely related into the same boxes, right? Mm-hmm. So, again, if you were to go back to like the library analogy, you might say, okay, let's take all of the books written by this one author and put them on one shelf, right? And then say that this author is like, say like a French-American author, right? You would want the entire like sort of shelves to be other French-American authors. Or say it was an author of fictional novels. If you're looking at genres, you would say a shelf of other, say historical fictional novels, right? That's sort of what's going on here. So the super and sub versions of all of these things just sort of tell you what is more closely related to each other. And so it's just interesting. It's just groups within groups within groups within groups. That's this whole thing. So yeah, do you have anything to say?
Right there. So if you look at the numbers of things, we started with 3 domains, and then we went over to 6 kingdoms, if I'm remembering correctly. Then we went over to each of those kingdoms, like the God, what kingdom were we in? We're in
Animalia.
We're in Animalia, exactly. Animalia had 7. The plants had 14, and I'm sure the other ones had a whole bunch. So you just keep getting more and more and more. Now we're on class. I can't even begin to tell you how many classes there are, because the diversity just goes up exponentially.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting that everything you see on screen right now are, mammals, because, I mean, a bat is very different from a whale, but both of them are in the same class, even though one flies and one swims. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it is really interesting. I don't know, maybe this is just sort of I forget what it's called. It's a bias, but I feel like the mammals are a lot more diverse than the other classes. I forget what the bias is called. It's like I'll explain it with an example. It's like if you live in Manhattan, right, and someone calls, Brooklyn, they refer to it's in New York City. A Manhattan person will be like, well, Brooklyn's very different from Manhattan, the 5 boroughs, because you're living there, and so you can tell the differences more. Whereas a person from New York City, on the other hand, will be like Nebraska, Kansas, whatever, those square states over there.
Yeah.
Whereas someone living there will be like, well, there's actually a lot of differences between, say, like Colorado and Kansas. So I feel like the same thing could be occurring with us as mammals, being like, oh, look how different all the mammals are. Sort of like our own, taxonomical living area, But anyway, what were you going to say?
One of the defining factors of a mammal, like you said, mammary glands, also sweat glands, as well as hair, fur, the live birth thing. But also, mammals are the smartest. They have the most developed brains, which is hysterical when you remember that squirrels and whatever the thing is on the bottom row in the middle that looks kind of like a squirrel.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that thing is, but seeing that thing is in... yeah, I was gonna say like a lemur squirrel type thing.
Mhm.
That thing is in the smartest animal class. And,
Yep.
if we are the only life, let's say, in the galaxy, that
Hmm.
thing is among the smartest in the galaxy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, exactly. Think of like dolphins are always credited with their intelligence. Elephants, I think, too,
Yes.
are also often credited with their intelligence. Strangely, I would say they say that octopi are also intelligent. So that's a break. A what is it?
That's a
Gosh, a contradiction.
cephalopod.
I don't know. Exception.
Yeah.
There you go. It's an exception. Yeah, not part of mammalia. Um, but as a rule, generally, when people talk about the smartest animals, most of them are going to be in mammalia. And so then that also presents another interesting bias, right? Which is that are we judging other animals' intelligences based on our own intelligence? And if that's the classification we're using, then might we overlook other kinds of intelligence, right? And say, oh, reptiles are dumber than mammals, when it's sort of like hard to objectively say that, right? Because you could, we might not be looking at the right characteristics, you know?
Mm.
We could be saying like, problem solving capability or something, uh, which you could say is like more mammalian. Oh, another species that they say is smart, crows, and that's aves. But yeah, no, I will agree with you. Most of the animals that most scientists, zoologists consider smart are within mammalia.
Mm.
Um, Even our pets are like pretty smart. Dogs, cats. We'll talk about those later. But yeah, so that's class. It's really interesting. A lot of differences within class, but also a lot of similarities.
Yep. So now we are on to order.
Yeah. All right. So now we go to order. Um, so order again is a bit more specific, and I want to look within mammalia. What are the different orders here? Okay. Um, uh,
Right now we are looking at the order of Carnivora.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, so we're looking at Carnivora here, which is not our order, I believe. We are in a different order than Carnivora.
Yes.
So, yeah, so this is a different. What species is this? Let's see if you can guess. I mean, there's no way you can guess it because until you get down to the specific one, it could be any within that group. So, um,
Of
but yeah, let's see.
Mammalia. All right, let's see.
I'm just trying to find. Okay, so
Wow.
here's some of the orders.
Mm.
You've got Rodentia, Carnivora, as we said. Um, uh,
Also, primates,
Primates.
marsupials,
Yep.
insects. Oh no, sorry, not insects. Insect eaters, rather.
Yeah.
Insectivora. So just literally
Insectivora.
eat insect.
Eat insect. I
Um,
command.
you'll notice that bats are no longer with us on this slide because they're in the
Yeah.
order Chiroptera, or I guess the P is
Mm.
silent, so Chirotera.
Oh yeah, probably.
All of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing
Um,
anywhere from like somewhere around 20 orders for mammals. So again, even more diverse. Let's see, how
mhm.
many do they have here?
Mammalian orders.
19, 20, 21. So somewhere around 20 to maybe 25 species.
Hmm.
But what's interesting is that over 70% of mammal species are in the orders of Rodentia, Chirotera, and Cericomorpha,
Hmm.
which is interesting.
That is interesting. It makes me think that since they're smaller, like the smaller animals have more different species,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, that is really interesting again. Um, but yeah, so if we're looking at carnivora here, I think what differentiates it is that they are carnivorous.
Yeah.
Right? Um,
A lot of what I
and
saw on the list was just what they ate.
yeah,
Um,
that is a very important classification
yeah.
here. It's interesting how each sort of rank sort of focuses on a different kind of trait
Hmm.
because animals that eat meat will evolve differently from omnivorous or herbivorous or insectivorous animals because just the physical realities of like what they're intaking, the nutrients, right?
Hmm.
So yeah. And then primates, what distinguishes primates? That's not what we have up here, but
Primates
uh,
are adapted to living in the trees of tropical forests, but they have large brains, visual acuity, color vision, a shoulder girdle. So the system we have with our
mm,
with our clavicle and our
yeah.
scapula, so your collarbone and your shoulder blade, that forms a girdle so you can carry things on your shoulders. That's a primate trait, as well as a large degree of movement in that same shoulder joint and dexterous hands. About it's I'm pretty sure monkeys have fingerprints, so our
Yeah.
hands are very similar to those of primates. Primates typically have 5 fingers, or on each hand. So all of that stuff. So it's just more. It seems like we're just more optimized and also smarter than
Yeah.
the majority of things. Although a large brain doesn't always mean smarter, I would
Mhm.
say that primates do tend to be among the smartest animals.
Uh,
Uh,
one of the big one of the big things is it's also about brain to body ratio.
mhm.
Interestingly, because I guess if you have more body, it requires more brain to control. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Also, primates have opposable thumbs.
yes, uh, yeah. So this is interesting again. More specific, more specific traits here. Um,
But it's
yeah,
interesting. Just look at every animal on there, on the slide right now. Just from me looking at it, you can see a similarity between like all of
yeah.
these is the snout. All of these things
Mm.
have a long pointed snout. Although
Yep.
walrus is doing his own thing, but
Doing his own thing a little bit, but you can kind of see it.
yeah, the
Yeah,
and
you can see the relation between all these.
think about it. Like what do carnivorous animals typically go after? They go after an animal's like neck, and so
Mm.
having a wedge shaped face and a wedge shaped jaw allows you to pinpoint the softest spots on an animal. Um,
Yeah, you also get like the placement of the ears also looks very similar, and also, of course, the front-facing eyes
yeah.
for the predators. That's how predators operate, just across, the
Yes.
different uh, the animal kingdom. You've got predators have front-facing eyes so that they can focus on prey, while herbivores have like eyes on the sides of their heads.
Yep.
I mean, look at like chickens and herbivorous birds are just
And
pretty like the way that they look in like two different
yeah.
directions. It gives
And
them more range so that they can tell when something's coming at them.
if you've ever seen like a bunny out in the wild, bunnies typically don't ever look at you head on. They usually what they do is they turn and show their backs to you, and then they like kind of like stare back at you, which is the dumbest thing to
Yeah.
look at. But the reason they're doing that is because their peripheral vision is literally better than
Hmm.
than what's directly in front of them. They see you better if you are behind them, which is an incredible thing for prey that gets chased often because you can't really chase something from the front.
Yeah.
So that's why if you've ever like noticed that squirrels um, also do a similar thing, they usually give you like the side eye, but you'll notice
Yeah.
that prey animals never really look at you like head on.
Hmm.
And
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. You can tell that humans are a predatory species based on the placement of our eyes on the fronts of our heads. Um, I mean, of course, we're more omnivores,
Yeah.
but I
Well,
guess we
you sir,
prioritize the hunting
you
aspect.
sir
Oh
are
yeah,
herbivore.
yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, animals that yeah, a lot of these animals here. It's interesting the like blurred line between herbivore, like the spectrum from herbivore to carnivore, because you have omnivores. Humans are omnivores that can survive solely on plants as well as on both. I'm not sure if humans can survive on just meat. Have you seen those like videos online? I mean, not videos, but like, people talk about their weird fad diets online all the time,
Hmm.
or just anywhere on TV. People love talking about their diets. And like, isn't there that one diet that's like just eat meat, like the carnivore diet?
That's what I inadvertently do.
I'm just like, oh my
I didn't
God.
know that was a diet.
Um, not from a vegetarian perspective, not to be biased here, but I'm pretty sure that's very unhealthy. I don't know.
Most
That would just
likely.
be my assumption. The cholesterol or whatever. They say avoid red meat, right? So if you're just eating red meat, it's like
Yeah.
not going to end well. So but then, vegetarian does also have its problems just with, and veganism with just acquiring protein. That is basically the main difficulty. But yeah, I think it's pretty bad for you to just eat meat. I'm not sure. I haven't
Yeah,
researched that,
I'm
but
looking at statements on the carnivore diet, and it's just
mm,
every doctor is like, do
is saying,
not
please
do
don't
this.
do this. And then
Yeah.
people online, I'm like, I'm going to do it anyway.
Even this person who is a
Yeah.
holistic dietitian is like,
Mm.
hey, don't do it.
Don't do it, please. I beg of you.
But
Oh my
there's no
gosh.
official definition of a carnivore diet, but
Mm.
the working definition is a diet that includes only foods that either walked, swam, or flew.
Do
Wow.
they are they allowed to have like milk and eggs?
Probably probably not
Or
because they
or
never
is there a
walked, swam,
distinction
or flew.
like how vegetarians can have milk and eggs, but then vegans can't? Do you have like carnivores and then, you know, I don't know, another carny, I don't know, something.
Have you heard of the caveman diet?
Yeah, the paleo
The
diet, right?
paleo,
Is
yeah,
that what it is?
yeah,
You
that's the
just don't
paleo.
cook your food, right?
It focuses on fresh fruits, vegetables, and only grass-fed meats. So only
Mm,
like beef and lamb, I guess.
mhm. That is actually interesting because I think the point of that is that, I mean, caveman diet, it's what humans evolved to
Ooga
eat.
booga.
So, in a certain sense, I think that one does make some sense. Although, again, I'm not super researched on this. But yeah, you've got a ton of different diets here. And it's sort of interesting that humans, while it may not be healthy, we can survive as carnivores, we can survive as omnivores, and we can survive as herbivores,
That's
as
debatable.
humans, which that's debatable. Which is a pretty interesting feature because all of these animals here in carnivora, um, they can survive as just carnivores, and some of them, I believe, as omnivores as well. Bears will like eat berries and stuff, but
Yeah.
all of them do need meat. I hate when I see like vegan dog owners that are like, "Oh, I don't feed my dog,"
Yeah,
and I'm
no,
like,
your
"Please
dog
don't.
will die,
Your dog
or
will
it will
die."
lead to a
Like,
complication
yeah,
of your dog dying because,
hmm,
they need meat. That's just how
yeah,
they've evolved.
exactly. But that isn't to say that they can't be partially omnivorous, although you have to be very careful with that too. Best to just give your dog food,
Yeah.
or I don't know, talk to your vet. That's the best thing to say. That's the best thing to say. Don't ask advice from uh, two 16-year-olds on the internet. Talk to your vet
Mhm.
before you decide what you're going to give your dog. But yeah, generally speaking, yeah, these animals cannot survive as herbivores. They need meat in their diets. So this, of course, defines them because it requires that they have the capability to hunt. And yeah, that's the order here.
Yep.
All
Over
right,
to
so
we are family.
yeah, family. Um, so family gets more specific. Um, a family here, it's like very obviously related, all of these different species. Um, let's see, let's see if I want to see if there's a list of families on this, of Carnivora. Um,
I'm looking at families of primates,
okay.
and
Yeah, so tell us.
so I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 here, although that might not be all of them.
Mhm.
This is when the families, like, you can just identify them by what, like what animal they are. Like, for example, the family Lemuridae, those are lemurs. It says
Mm.
lemur right in the name.
Yeah.
This is when you get the family of that humans are in, which is Hominidae, Hominidae,
Mhm.
Hominidae.
Oh yeah, hominidae. I
I
think
think,
that's
yeah. But this is where humans and apes get separated.
mm.
So you can just start doing that. I'm seeing that there's as many as 12 species, families of primates.
Hmm.
And they're, I feel like even, yeah. So this is when humans get separated from monkeys and
Yeah.
apes.
Hmm. Yeah. On the carnivoran side, right? You've
Mm-hmm.
got Carnivora is divided into two main suborders, and then those are divided into the different families, and those suborders are Caniforma and Feliforma. So that's cat-like and dog-like. And so this family right here that we have is the family Canidae, but then there's also Ursidae, which is bears. Uh, you've got Canipedia. This looks okay. This is like sea animals, so like walrus, sea lions, these sort of sea mammals that are within carnivora. And so then you get like more specific ones. You've got Mephitidae, which is like skunks, not fun. Uh, Iluridae, red panda, interesting. Uh, and just a ton of different ones. And so then you hop over to Feliforma, that gives you Nandinidae, which is a civet, the civet, and then you get Felidae, which is mainstream cats. Canidae and Felidae, you can think about those are pretty simple. So the Felidae includes like big cats and stuff like that. And then yeah, you just get a ton of different families in here. So yeah, it's pretty interesting how this breaks down because animal like families here, like these all sort of fit into one word almost. Like you think of bears as a general thing, you think of cats as a general thing, and dogs, and that's just sort of interesting. It's getting like to the specific level. Yeah. Uh, so this one that we're on here, we've got Canidae, and let's see. I want to see what traits they have specifically. Just defining traits. So the traits can get pretty specific here. One of
Mm-hmm.
them is that they are social animals and that they behave cooperatively. And so that's a big distinction between, say, Canidae and Felidae, is that Felidae is more of like lone ambush hunter. They'll just go and attack. Whereas Canidae are more pack hunters. And this is interesting because I wonder where the expression lone wolf came from. Because, cats are
That's a
more
good question.
solitary than wolves, like in terms of how they operate, how they hunt.
Wolves that have left or been excluded from
Oh,
their
okay.
pack are described as
I see.
lone wolves
That makes sense. Okay, so I guess it does make sense then, because
because
it's
they're going against
specifically
the norm.
since, yeah, since they're so social, uh, it's strange for one not to be. Okay, that makes sense as an expression then. Um, but yeah, so candidate here, get all the favorites. You got dogs, wolves, coyotes, jackals, foxes, uh, just a ton of different things here. I like this like the drawing on the left. I don't know who made this. This, oh wait, it's in the bottom right.
Oh
It's
god,
kind of blurry there.
it's nice. I like
And
that though.
I have no idea. Yeah, this is a cool graphic.
I
Um,
can't even read that.
I cannot either.
We're getting old.
So we're getting old. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so you've got a lot of different species. Some that are lesser known as well. You've got like African wild dog. Um, that's one that people don't talk about a lot. Uh, you've got, that's strange. They put, I'm not sure if this is a Wikipedia mistake. They have, it looks like raccoon dogs. That's interesting. I thought this was just a raccoon, but it's a raccoon dog.
Hmm,
I guess that's why they're called raccoon dogs,
I
because
guess
they
so.
look like raccoons. Um, yeah, so that's interesting. But yes, all of these very dog-like sort of animals. Um, yeah. Oh, something interesting is that hyenas are actually in Feliforma. I think I've mentioned this on stream before. I just love this as a fun fact because it's so weird,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like that hyenas are Feliforma. Uh, it doesn't look like they're in Felidae, but they are in the Feliforma side rather than the Caniforma side. So hyenas are more closely related to cats than they are to dogs, which is just like so weird. Because you think of them as like dogs. I don't know. I always sort of thought of them as dogs, like dog-like, but I guess they're not dog-like. They're cat-like. So who knows? Topsy-turvy here. Um, but yeah, so that's sort of, you could also say um, this sort of gets into again that sometimes the groupings can be counterintuitive based on like what you would see. Like if we were to go back to mammals, again, like bats and whales in the same group, shouldn't whales be in the same group as, say sharks or fish? Uh, it can be counterintuitive based on just appearances, but taxonomy speaks a lot to evolutionary paths and internal structure. So it's very useful. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, even now we're to the point of just like, I, I would say probably millions of families exist. I don't think that's an
Probably, yeah.
overstatement.
It gets exponential here.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah, and like you could tell, like you could probably give this out to anyone, and they would be able to tell like what is in a family and what is not. If we gave you
mhm.
five pictures, four of them are in the same family, one of them is the odd one out. You'd probably be very. It'd be very
Yeah,
easy to pick the one that shouldn't be there out.
definitely, definitely.
But yeah, so at this point now you have a decent chance of guessing what the animal that we're focusing on is, and you will
Yeah,
definitely get it while we go over to the next slide.
yeah. Here we go. Now we are going to genus.
And there
Uh,
you go.
this genus here is the genus Vulpes, uh, which I think is Latin for fox. So
Yeah.
there you go.
So it's a
Um,
fox, guys.
yeah, but it's specifically we'll get there are multiple fox species. Like if you look here, you got the classic red fox, which is the one that we have. That's Vulpes. But then you have fennec foxes. I don't know what where's their name. Where is their? I'm looking. Vulpes zerda. is the fennec fox. You've got, say, the Arctic fox. That's the Vulpes lagopus. Just sort of interesting, different kind of foxes here. But yeah, so genuses gets very, very specific. These are the species that are the most closely related to each other. And actually, some animals within the same genus can interbreed. Now, this is not guaranteed, and it varies based on, from animal to animal, species to species. Certain species within the same genus are just completely incompatible, cannot produce offspring. So that's one end of the scale. In the middle, you get, what is it? It's the mule is in the middle, where you have, I think it's horses and donkeys, I believe. Mm-hmm. And so a mule is the offspring of a horse and a donkey. And that is an animal hybrid between two animals that I believe are in the same genus.
A male donkey and a female horse.
Yeah. However, all mules are infertile. So that's something that I think I learned in middle school. And that you don't think of as an obvious fact. You would think of oh, okay, a mule is probably descendant of two mules. But every single mule alive is the result of species crossbreeding, because mules cannot reproduce themselves. So that's the sort of middle case. But then finally you get the complete compatibility case, which is, say, the dog and the wolf, which are actually part of the same species. So say the wolf and the coyote. The wolf and the coyote can produce viable offspring, but they are different species. The dog is a subspecies of wolf. And so this is interesting. I read this short little article, which was scientists genetically, if they compare the genetic sequence of a dog and of a wolf, they can't tell the difference. But if they compare the genetic sequence of a coyote and a wolf, they actually can. Yet, these two species, which are different species, can interbreed. And so that's sort of a strange thing. The coyote population in America has I think it's some percent, 9 to 10% of its genome comes from wolves. So it's I find it kind of weird that they are different species, because the often quoted definition of a species is a group of organisms that can interbreed, but and it excludes those that it cannot interbreed with. But that would put coyotes and wolves as part of the same species, which is a weird sort of thing. So again, this is sort of how biology is that it's not as cut and dry as some of the other sciences. F equals ma is always, well, actually, the relativistic equivalent, right? Mm-hmm. That's just more complicated. But for most instances, F equals ma is F equals ma. There are exceptions, but they are predictable exceptions, right? That is just Einstein's theory. I just don't want to list whatever the heck it is.
Yeah.
I don't know it. I know F equals ma. I don't know epsilon, delta. You get into Greek letters and you lose me. So yeah, that's genus. It's interesting. Yeah. Do you have any fun info here?
No.
All right. Yeah. So genuses, other than species, are the most distinct rank here. It's incredibly specific. But yeah.
All right.
So now we go down to species, and here we have the Vulpes vulpes in the snow, licking its chops. I don't know. It's I wonder if the scientists or whatever that took this photo, gave it food or put out a plate of food or something to get it to make this face. Right?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I love foxes, man. They're great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty cute. Yeah, and you've got that distinctive red fox design.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but anyway, so we get down to, let's see, the species level.
And there are just so many species.
Oh yeah, yeah. Look that up. I think. Oh wait, here I have it. The total number of species is estimated to be between 8 and 8.7 million. However, only about 14% of these have been described by 2011.
Wow.
So that's a lot.
Yeah. I want to see if my earlier estimate was accurate with. Um,
Yeah, it's probably like a few 100,000 different families. Um,
oh, it's just giving me like. In the U.S., there were 52.8 million households, and I'm like, bruh.
oh yes, family. Yeah,
Biology.
thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you, Google.
how many taxonomical families are there? There are probably around. Really?
How many does it say?
I'm seeing an estimate around as low as that seems way too low. Actually, hold on.
What's
In a
wait? What is
million.
it? Just out
So
of
I'm
curiosity.
seeing an estimate that is as low as 8,000, but estimates as high as 20,000. So my estimate of millions was way too much.
Yeah.
So apparently, according to, like I'm on, just like Stack Exchange. So these are
Mm.
just random people, but this answer has been upvoted.
Yes.
There are about, so this is in 2011, so a little dated.
Mhm.
5,000 families in Animalia, 270 in Chromista, 550 in fungi, 750 in plantae, 280 in protozoa, 27 in archaea, and 300 in bacteria. Which would give you like around 8,000. But again, that's from like 2011,
Mhm.
and I know biology has made some pretty big leaps,
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, that's interesting. Um, but yeah, so on species, right? We've got the definition of a species. There is no like decided upon. They are just very common definitions. So one of them is the largest group of organisms in which any two individuals of the appropriate sexes or mating types can produce fertile offspring. That's the definition I gave you a little while earlier. Um, just more precisely, better worded. Uh, um, so that's interesting. Another way to do it is according to their DNA sequences and their karyotypes, so their chromosomes, um, and their anatomy, uh, and behavior, like habitat, a ton of different things. But these are a bit more mushy of a definition than the first one, which is very cut and dry. It makes sense, but all of these definitions create, problematic edge cases, and those edge cases, as I said, are the cases of hybridization.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you get hybridization, it messes things up because it's like, how do you define a species if your definition of species is, the largest group in which any two organisms can reproduce? It doesn't. It's confusing. Um, but yeah, that's biology for you. It can be confusing sometimes, and that's okay. So something interesting about species is that within species you have subspecies, and then you can get down to variants, which are just like more and more specific. Um, yeah, so the subspecies, what's the definition there? I mean, the subspecies is the difference between a wolf and a dog, and then a variant is the difference between, a pug and a Rottweiler, any two dog breeds. Um, and so that is really interesting, again, because looking at these classifications, every single breed of dog is more closely related to each other than they are to wolves, which you may not expect if you were to say look at a husky and a pug, right? You would think, okay, the wolf and the husky are more related, but that's not the case. Just very weird. In this case, it's a case of divergent biology here, in that humans very intentionally were like, we want a very wide variety. We have a lot of different purposes we want to use dogs for, so we are going to artificially select them and create a ton of different variants, but without actually changing species or even subspecies.
I love pugs too. I love them. I like
Yeah.
Small dogs are devil worshippers. Don't get me wrong. Small dogs are they're just angrier cats. Let's just throw it out there. If your dog is
Yeah.
less than 40 pounds, it's a cat. But pugs, I like pugs. Pugs get the official 128 seconds seal of approval.
Oh, stamp. Yeah.
Because, I don't know, I like their cute face. I like how diseased they sound. You know, it makes me feel better about my own health and my own diet.
Oh boy.
But I love them. I love their cute faces, and I love the fact that they are, I don't know, they comfort me. They really do. I definitely want a pug when I'm older. It's the only valid small dog, man.
Yeah. I found this picture on the Wikipedia page for foxes, and it just made me laugh. If you want to present again.
Present again. Wow.
They're just yelling. They're yawning, actually, but I like to imagine they're just screaming.
Their mouths open wide. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy, actually.
That is a little disconcerting.
It is. That is so weird. Yeah, a ton of different animals are much more like their mouths open, like the snake mouth. That is so weird.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
Like that's their whole like design model, right?
Yeah.
But it's weird that foxes have that too. I don't know. Humans, you try and do that, you'll break your jaw. So don't try this at home. Yeah.
Anywho.
So, anyway.
Applications,
yeah.
You can get them on your phone.
Yep.
No.
Yeah, so there are a few different applications of taxonomy and how it's useful, and we're going to talk about them. I think there's more than what we put down here, but these were just two of the most obvious. So we start with the phylogenetic tree. And so this is the phylogenetic tree of the Canis genus, the genus Canis, which is the dog one. So this phylogenetic tree, what it tells you is the dates of the most recent common ancestor of each of these species, as well as their relation to each other. Right. So it's no wonder that, say, the gray wolf and the coyote are able to hybridize when their most recent common ancestor was 1.1 million years ago. But then if you were to include the African golden wolf, that's 1.32, and then you get the Ethiopian wolf, 1.62, golden jackal, 1.92. And so this just keeps going farther and farther into the past, longer and longer time for these species to diverge. The tool of the most recent common ancestor is this is all very useful in the study of evolution. You don't even have to look into the fossil record, which we'll talk about in a second. You don't even need to look at fossils to think about evolution. If you just know precisely how closely related each animal currently alive today is to each other animal, that what's it called? That just, it elucidates, I guess you could say, illuminates a path, and it tells you sort of a lot about the history of those different animal species. And so the way that they can do this is based on, more recently, analyzing the genome, but farther back in the past, looking at specimens, right? Dissection. uh, detailed studies of the anatomy. Um, but yeah, now we can look at the genome, which is really cool. The genome gives you a really precise estimate of most recent common ancestors because you can do things like look at the mitochondrial genome, which that's another interesting thing because mitochondrial DNA is solely passed on from mother to daughter, right? Or well, mother to child, but then the son's not going to be passing it on, right? So, and that's just because of the way that reproduction works, is that an egg cell is a complete cell with organelles and whatnot, including mitochondria, whereas a sperm is not as much complete. And so, yeah, so the mitochondrial DNA can trace back a line to the most recent common ancestor, the most recent common female ancestor, I guess. And that's just sort of fascinating. We've done that for humans, like they placed it like 6,000 years ago or something like that, where everyone alive today, if you go back far enough, is the descendant of the same woman. And that is not like, that is to be expected, essentially, in the population. Just because, whenever anyone has less than one daughter, right? If they just have sons or they don't have kids, then their mitochondrial DNA line essentially ends, right? And the same can be said for Y chromosome lines that they can analyze. Of course, the Y chromosome is only passed from father to son. And so that can give you the patrilineal look at things. So a lot of different techniques that analysis of DNA can give you. It's really fascinating because this is more recent. I forget what the year was in which they first mapped the human genome. I'll look it up. First human genome sequenced.
Wasn't that in
it looks like 2007.
That's I knew I was gonna say 2001. I don't know why that number or why that year was in my head.
Yeah, the full genome sequencing history. Currently, thousands of genomes have been wholly or partially sequenced. That's interesting. 1999, they got the entire sequence of chromosome 22, which is the shortest one. So by the year 2000, they got animal, insects, genome fully sequenced. By 2001, they had a draft of the entire
working draft that was completed and published. Yeah, so that's why 2001 was in my head.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't know what they mean by that, by draft, just like this is a draft. We've got a few grammar mistakes. We need to make some revisions here. Yeah. But yeah, so then in 2004, the Human Genome Project published an incomplete version of the human genome. In 2008, a group from Leiden, the Netherlands, reported the sequencing of the first female human genome. So 2000s, let's just say. It's kind of vague. It's a slow transition process from not knowing to knowing here. But yeah, so it's great what we can do with modern studies of DNA to figure out the ancestry and of all these different organisms. And it tells you about conditions of earlier time periods in Earth. It tells you, it just tells you about anything biologically related. That's what it's useful for. So,
yeah.
Lots of insight on natural selection, essentially. But yeah, so then the next part that's useful is the fossil record. So obviously you can't extract any DNA from the fossil record. You can look at the anatomy, though. You can look at the bone structure, and that can tell you about extinct species. And it's really interesting, like how they say modern day birds are more closely related to dinosaurs than modern day reptiles. You probably knew that. that's one of those things where it's like was a myth, but now it's like so much a common, like, you know what I mean? Eventually, I feel like myths go away. It depends on the myth, of course, but yeah. So yeah, the fossil record, and so this is interesting. The analysis and the hypothesis that dinosaurs are ancestors of birds comes from the analysis of dinosaur bones and bird bones. It comes from similar things to what we do taxonomically today. Our analysis of anatomy today to say, okay, are these two bird species part of the same genus or just part of the same family? That analysis is also similar to the kind of analysis you can do on the fossil record, which will tell you what are these, what animal is this a ancestor of, and how were the dinosaurs related to each other too. And then, of course, this helps us with the study of our own history because we have skeletons of early hominids, and all of these sort of methods paint a better picture, more accurate picture of the past, which just gets us more information, which is useful. And yeah, every sort of method that you can use on one species is helpful somewhere else, it feels. So that's always great.
Yeah, it is good for the research and the development of said research, which is used to develop research into the field of development and research.
Yeah.
With regards to the research that is being done to develop our understanding of the research that has been developed.
Yeah.
For the
it's like answers to the problems.
Exactly.
Yeah. But no, eventually you get into practical application. You get stuff like, I don't know, genetic modification, which is a bit of a dirty word, but like, okay, I'm gonna share a secret with you guys.
Ooh.
Literally every plant has been artificially modified by humans.
No, you
it's
mean
just
to tell
that
me those apples didn't start out that big?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and I don't mean in the GMO sense, right? It's just it took thousands of years, but we took like corn, which was like 6 seeds in a pod, and like turned that into these giant things through selective breeding. The only difference with GMO is that you can do it a lot quicker, and that can bring up questions of ethics and of irresponsibility. But there is nothing inherently wrong with GMOing. I think I've said this before on here, but I'll say it again. There's this like unfortunate vendetta that people have against GMOing. There's two areas of science: GMO and nuclear fission, where I just always get so like frustrated with people's like more emotional reaction to these things and just not liking them. And I'm like, okay, the use of nuclear energy could solve the climate crisis a lot quicker than, say, renewable energy ever could, right? And GMOs could end world hunger. So it's like, it's so weird, the hesitation towards these things. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I digress. Fossil record, very important, very cool.
He's digressing.
I'm digressing, yes. We get evidence of like the Cambrian explosion of the trilobites, probably one of the best species to ever exist, the trilobite. You know the trilobite?
I do know the trilobite.
Yeah, survived 2 mass extinctions. Out on the 3rd strike, unfortunately, the trilobite. I want to see some trilobites. I just like the name. They're like arthropods, so they're like crabs.
They are interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, they're interesting, hardy kind of animal. But no longer. They are extinct. The trilobite.
In any case.
Oh, that's funny. There's a company called Trilobite, but spelled like the computer bite. But Trilobite is spelled with an I, not a Y. Trilobite. Anyway, I'm just gonna put a picture in of some Trilobite fossils. They look like horseshoe crabs almost.
Yeah, they do. And if you open any biology textbook, trilobites are all over it.
Yeah, they look like a cross between like horseshoe crabs and like millipedes almost.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I put the picture in, but
look at those things.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, that's that.
On to notable species.
Oh yeah, so we're going to talk about some 3 notable species, well, 4. But
yes.
The last one is just to make, I guess, one final point that I want to talk about there. So yeah. Oh shoot, we forgot to do the thing where we do the whole ladder.
Oh right. Well, I could just pull that up.
We can. Yeah. You can. It's on Wikipedia.
Yeah,
they have
exactly.
that. Okay, so if you go to Homo Sapiens, or actually, I could put the picture in. So the first one we're going to talk about is Homo Sapiens. I'll put in a picture from Wikipedia. It's onto the slide. It's
We are Homo Sapiens.
Yeah. So so all the taxonomical names, they give you the genus name and then the you can present again. They give you the genus name and they give you the species name, because sometimes you'll have 2 species with the same name. I think it's very rare, but there's 8 million, right? Yeah. So you got to specify. It's like London, France. I love there's like whenever there's a movie and they put like, I think CinemaSins talks about this, like he always rags on this. When they get like, they put in Moscow, Russia in the establishing spot, like they'll specifically, they'll specify Chicago, Illinois. And it's like, as opposed to like, Chicago, like Canada, it's like, which are like probably tiny towns that like barely anyone knows about. But it's important for specificity, especially in science, You want to make sure you're talking about Homo sapiens and not like, I don't know, some other type of sapiens. I don't think sapiens is used anywhere else, because sapiens means like sentient, right? It means knowledgeable.
Yeah.
And no other species we consider to be sapient. So you can't really get that. But yeah, so we're in the kingdom of Animalia, the phylum of Chordata, the class of Mammalia, the order of Primate, and then we get down to the family of Hominidae and the genus of Homo. So then Homo sapien. We are the only species in our genus. That's an interesting fact. All the other ones died. A lot of them, it was probably our fault too.
We are superior.
So, yeah. The Neanderthals, that's what I think of. They were probably in the same genus. There's a ton of different, you've got Homo antecessor, Homo erectus, Homo ergaster, Homo floresiensis, Homo habilis. Some of these you've probably heard before, some of you probably haven't. Homo heidelbergensis, Homo luzonensis, Homo rudolfensis, Homo naledi, and finally, Homo neanderthalensis. That's Neanderthals. So all of these are extinct except for Homo sapien. I wonder if that's foreshadowing. Uh-oh. But yeah, so we are alone. Meme. Yeah, exactly.
To go.
Oh no. Yeah. It's sad. We're lonely in our own genus. No friends. I mean, that's probably for the best, given our track record with things. But yeah, so it's just interesting that there's only one human species, whereas we were looking at dogs earlier. They have or foxes. You got all the different foxes in the same genus. So yeah, I don't know what do you want to talk about humans? I guess there's a lot you could say.
There's a bunch of them that I like, a lot of
Hmm.
them that I don't.
Hmm.
And that's all I have to say.
And that's that. Um, yeah, I think there's a lot of. So we might have uh, Neanderthal DNA. I think there's a thing on, like, when you do your 23andMe or Ancestry, like DNA kit, they'll say you are X% Neanderthal.
Yeah.
Um,
Typically that is a European thing, or if you
mm,
have European
yeah,
ancestry,
that's because that was
that's
the domain of the
yes.
Neanderthal. Yeah.
Neanderthals primarily operated around the more Germanic countries. I know that they were throughout Germany. Also, I know that they were in Slovenia. The only reason I know that is because of my history of music video, where the first musicians came from Slovenia. They were just
Hmm.
Neanderthals blowing on
Nice.
some flutes.
Haha, legends.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
so it's, yeah, go ahead.
I would say that, Homo sapiens are the most OP animals to ever exist. We are literally living on every single continent. We have explored every single sea, every ocean, and I'm pretty sure we have we've mapped like pretty much everything. Like, yeah, you're gonna get like an island that's like 50 square feet every now and then that we haven't
Hmm.
mapped, but we still have it there. We've been to, you know, places outside of the planet, which only select other animals have, and the only reason they got
Hmm.
there was
Was
because we
hitched a ride.
shot them there.
Yeah.
So, we if like in any of those stories where it's like an intelligence triumphed over strength, like
Hmm.
all that stuff, you need only look at the fact that humans have colonized the planet. Because, I mean, if you go back to the carnivores slide, like if we just head back to the carnivores slide
Yeah.
real quick, um, there we
The
go. The
family of
order,
carnivore.
the
Oh, the
the
order.
order. Um, okay, excluding whatever's in the bottom left and
Hmm.
maybe the red panda or raccoon, whatever that thing is next to it,
Hmm.
and the ferret looking thing above it. Do you think you could take these animals in a fight? No, you do not. Maybe
No.
also like not including the otter top right, but you
Hmm.
couldn't take a cheetah or a leopard in a fight. You couldn't take a bear in a fight.
Oh
You
yeah.
couldn't take a hyena or a dingo in a fight. Wolves maybe, you know.
If there was only one of, that's an interesting question.
Wildcats you can't take, and you can't take a
I don't know. I think it
walrus
would be pretty
without
hard.
tools. And that's the thing, is
Yeah.
that
You
we're able
need that.
to create tools, because
Mhm.
if you have a gun, you can immediately take any single
Yep.
animal on the planet, because
Yeah.
once upon a time some
Yep.
Homo sapien invented a gun. That's the
Yeah.
thing. That's
We've
in yeah,
basically maxed out our intelligence stat
yeah.
and have let all the other traits go fallow. Um,
I
and
would yeah.
it works to our advantage because we just have we go down those skill trees. The most important development I would say was language, because even if, and I guess you could say written language, but basically the ability to communicate from the past to the future. Um, because even if we were to say that there was a species that had half the intelligence of humanity but the same language capabilities, and then you had another species that had twice the intelligence of humans but had no language capabilities whatsoever, the species with half the intelligence would maybe not be as developed as we are today, but eventually they would get to that level. Whereas the species that is twice as intelligent would never reach that level. And the reason is that the summation of human knowledge that we have at this point relies on, countless generations of knowledge that have already built up. Each and every generation of, ape is learning everything from scratch. They do have some basic tool use, and they can actually communicate to their young. Like, they have some very basic rudimentary. Like, I saw an article that was like, apes are now entering the Stone Age, which was an interesting article. And so you do get minor stuff like that, but for the most part, most animals, they do not develop. They do not build upon what their last generation learned, whereas humans have semi-consistently done that. Regardless, there are some periods in history where, you could say the Dark Ages, but I'm pretty sure the Dark Ages is also like a misconception. Like, it wasn't actually the Dark Age, like how people, like, it wasn't actually stagnation. I don't know. I'm not that. I know a lot more about anything historical after 1750 than before 1750, because I'm just like, American history time. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so that's probably the most important differentiation, is the human capability to build upon past generations, because that is what gives us things like the gun, that gives us the upper hand in a fight in any animal, against any animal. Previous generations could at least, they could pick up a rock maybe, like literally like the first generations of humans would be like, oh no, I'll pick up a big rock and just try and hit it over the head or something like that. Which is a very rudimentary skill. But then they would teach their young that, and they would say, what if I, sharpened the rock? What if I attached it to a pole so that I didn't have to get so close?
And that's why the mammoths went extinct, right?
Yes, yeah. It's theorized overhunting. I think that's the main theory, is overhunting for the mammoths.
Mammoth extinct. Okay, yeah, so the Ice Age. But, a large part of why some animals went extinct at that time was because we invented spear hunting. Humans are the only animals on Earth that can throw something with precision. Like, monkeys are, they have the right equipment for it, but they can't get it, like, nailed down pat. Like, the occasional monkey can, like, throw something in a general direction of something. But humans are, like, the only animals that can really do stuff with, like, precision. Because, like, think about the top athletes. They are just being paid millions upon millions of dollars for, like, precision. Think about the top, the number one darts player in the world, or the number one, I guess, like, archer. Those are all precision. Also, extending it out to, like, basketball, that obviously includes a lot more than just precision, but that's what it comes down to.
Another trait like that is the trait of endurance.
Yeah.
Because while you can't outrun a cheetah, like, they will catch you, if you had a significant head start, eventually you could actually outrun them, because while a cheetah has a crazy maximum sprint, humans have the ability to jog on end for hours. I mean, the concept of a marathon does not work for any other animal species.
Yeah.
So that's another important trait. Like endurance hunting, a lot of that would be you get like a deer or something, right? And you just keep chasing it. It would get, a mile ahead of you at times, but you would just always be on its tail, and eventually it will just not be able to move any further, and you will have caught it. Although it's not particularly efficient if you're like a hunter-gatherer, because you're expending a lot of energy when you do that, but that's getting into the nitty-gritty. But yeah, it is interesting when you think of humans, like the traditional measures of, fitness for animals. We don't have no claws here, no sharp teeth or anything. But just the intellect and, the ability to make more complex plans, the ability to endure and to use tools. that is what gives us the edge. And that is what has allowed us to conquer the planet, because a lot of animals are very well adapted to their environment, but humans can adapt to a lot of different environments because we have the problem solving ability. I mean, you had human cultures in almost every kind of climate. You had, people living in the Arctic for long periods of time before you developed modern technology. You had people living in the tropics before we developed air conditioning. And let me just say, like, air conditioning has made the tropics, like, and the southern United States, much more viable as a thing. But yeah, so it's interesting because we're getting to the point as humans where we can actually adapt our environment to suit our own needs. If, again, I'm here in Florida, which would be unbearably hot for most of human history. However, I'm in an air-conditioned home because of our, the technology that we have, which is very useful. We're changing our environment. We're making it cooler.
And
Yeah.
like also just like shelters in general, because
Yeah.
even where I live in Connecticut, it gets incredibly cold.
Yep.
During the winter. So I need to make a house, and I need to have shelter.
Yeah, it's really interesting, the ability to sort of change the environment. Like, we've gotten to the point, the concept of a canal is like, let's make a river, right? And all these other sort of things. And then eventually, as we continue to develop, we're unintentionally changing the environment, via climate change. But then in the future, as there's more development in space and stuff like that, that also creates a greater potential for, terraformation of other planets, but also probably some terraformation of Earth will occur, which is a bit of an oxymoron, because terraformation means to make more Earth-like, and what can be more Earth-like than literally the Earth? But if you've got a place that is like way too hot all the time, you could, like, I don't know, put orbital mirrors in place or something and reflect the light away. That's an extreme solution and probably has negative consequences, so it'll have to be thought out. But if we look at other planets, the answer is much more obvious. If we go to Mars, we're going to change the environment there. If you go to Venus, you're going to change the environment there. If you go to the moon, you're going to change the environment there to a certain extent, although because it's not as viable for complete terraformation. You got to look at like para-terraformation, which is just like we all live under the dome, but that's still making it more Earth-like, making a part of it at least more Earth-like. So, yeah, very, very interesting species we've got here, Homo sapiens.
Another one you may be familiar with that may be in your very home.
Oh yeah,
is
we've got the Felis catus. Look at these guys, cats. It wouldn't be an internet video without cats, right? So cats, Animalia, Chordata, Mammalia, Carnivora, Felidae, Felis, Catus. So, yeah.
Cats are great. I do love cats. Do not think that my earlier comment about how dogs under 40 pounds are cats, I believe that's a quote of the founding father, Ron Swanson. But, cats are good. They're certainly not dogs, but cats are good. I really do like cats. I've never known if I'm a cat person or a dog person. I've had cats for longer, so I also like the fact that they're much more low maintenance. So, like in college, if I was gonna have a pet, it would most likely be a cat. But
that's cool.
The rivalry between cats and dogs is beneath me.
It's beneath me. Yeah, I haven't had cats. I don't really know that much about cats because I haven't really had them. Because I think my mother's allergic. I think she's allergic to both, but like like not severely. Like I don't think she's gonna die or anything, but like a lot more allergic to cats. I mean, she'll pet a cat, but like
Yeah.
it's not fun. It's not fun. It's one of those kind of allergies where it's not like peanut allergies can be deadly. It's one of those just like not a good time allergies, and so if you're constantly not having a good time, that's not good. So we don't have a cat. We have a dog because she's not as allergic. I don't think she really is very allergic to dogs. I don't know.
But cats are another one that have been domesticated. You know, they're related to like wild cats, other members of the Felidae family. A lot of them are a lot more voracious and ferocious than the cats you might find in your home, namely the lion and the leopard, I guess, and the cheetahs and stuff like that. They would all fall under Felidae. Cats are cute. I like cats. We've also done the same thing we've done with dogs about how we want like specific cats to look specific ways, like, you know, breed them in a certain way if you want certain cats.
Yep.
But yeah, those are cats. Do you have any other?
Yeah. I'm just looking at the Felis sort of genus.
Felis genus.
Yeah, the Felis genus. And yeah, these things all look very similar to the like house cat. You've got the European wildcat is one. This is the Felis sylvestris. You've got the jungle cat. Makes me think of like Minecraft. You've got the African wildcat, which is pretty similar just in name to that. You've got the African wild dog, and then there's the African wildcat. And you've got the black-footed cat, which this is interesting. It looks like a leopard in terms of coloration, but is literally just like painted on a cat. I put a picture. But all of these different cats, you've got sand cat and then Chinese mountain cat. They all are, you know, small. They're all cat-sized. But I imagine slightly more ferocious.
Yeah.
You still wouldn't want to encounter them. They'd probably, you know, scratch you a lot. Or even a domestic cat, you'll be like, oh God, you'll get all scratched up, right?
Yeah.
Not fun to get scratched up by a cat. So just imagine a feral, wild version of that. But yeah. But for the most part, the Felis genus is the most tame that you're going to get in Felidae. Because then you've got, you know, pumas and panthers. And it's like, uh-oh, dangerous.
Yeah. But those are cats.
Yeah, that's cats.
Next, we got Canis lupus.
Yeah, Canis lupus and Canis lupus familiaris. So, again, Canis lupus familiaris, that's dogs, but that is a subspecies within the main species that is Canis lupus, which is the wolf right here. But yeah, we've talked a lot about the canids. Yeah. But yeah, so it's interesting, again, with the whole coyote thing. You can make like one of those three-way Venn diagrams because there are coy wolves, coy dogs, and wolf dogs, each of those being very self-explanatory of what hybridization that might be. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you've got like Balto is an example of a wolf dog here, which is a hybridization within the same species. So I'm like, is that even a hybridization? But it's kind of confusing with the subspecies here. But yeah, Balto, medicine, Alaska, that whole thing, vaccines in Alaska. That's an interesting story right there. But yeah, that sort of speaks to the utility of dogs. They were used primarily for hunting. In prehistory, you know, you've got all the hunter-gatherer tribes. Dogs were useful in that regard. A tamer version of the dangerous wolf makes sense. But then they diversified, and you have, you know, huskies designed for carrying things long distances, you know, mode of transportation. You still have a lot of dogs that are hunting dogs. You have dogs that are hunting for specific animals, like the dachshund, which is the long dogs. Those are specifically for hunting ferrets, I believe, because they can go down the ferret holes, right? The ferret burrows. They're kind of if you think of a dachshund and a ferret, they both have a similar shape. So there you go. That makes the dachshund more able to go after the ferret. Um, and then of course you just have purely like companion dogs. I don't know why anyone made them, because when you think of history, like when has leisure popped up as a thing? I guess these could be like the dogs of nobility, for like the noblemen uh, during prehistory. You got like Shih Tzu, you get the pug, um, and yeah, that's the main ones that I can think of. Um, I was gonna say Chihuahua, but I feel like they had a practical use just because of how freaking
Insane they
uh,
are.
yeah, how intense they are. I imagine. I mean, you just set one of them loose, it'll come back with a dead thing eventually. Uh, but yeah, that's Canis lupus.
And finally, I know you're all very familiar with this one. Cthulhu macrophagiculumque. Um, it is found in the what is it? It's like in the intestines of termites. I'm pretty sure it's like a parasite.
Uh-huh.
It's in the domain Eukaryota, phylum Metamonada, and the class Parabassalia. Its genus is Cthulhu. It's in the Cthulhu genus.
Yeah,
That's the species. You could not pay me to say that again. But
yeah, exactly.
the thing here is that you can really just name things whatever you want if you find
Yep.
them. So this was just someone who is like, well, this thing looks horrific. Let's name it after one of the most horrific monsters of all time. So
Yeah,
the genus
exactly.
Cthulhu. There's a lot of animals named after just like researchers, like just their last names. I know there's a snail named after Steve Irwin.
Hmm.
There's a couple. There is something named after Lady Gaga. I remember seeing that, as well as a couple named after the Beatles. I'm pretty sure. So just like people having fun
Yeah.
with names.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird species names, and it's because, again, the scientists can name the new species whatever they want. Um, and so this sort of goes into the history of animal classification. Lupus means wolf in Latin, right? So that's easy. A wolf is a wolf. Uh, the coyote is the Canis latrans. Latrans means howling, right, in Latin. Felis catus. I imagine catus means cat in Latin. Um, it's very easy here. You go to like the Ursidae, if you think of that as a group. That comes from ursa, bear, Latin. All of these early and obvious animals that like common animals that you think of all the time, they just used the Latin names. Very simple, very cool. But once we got these more, whenever we discover a new species, since we've discovered it, it's something that the Romans didn't know about. So they didn't have a name for it. So you can pretty much make up whatever you want. Sometimes they will base it on a characteristic of the animal. Again, like if you think of the coyote, because I think coyotes are just in the Americas, right? So I don't think the
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Romans ever dealt with coyotes. So that's why latrans isn't the word for coyote, it's the word for howling, right? So they said, well, there's no word for coyote in Latin, so we have to think of something that makes sense, right? And that is latrans because they howl at the moon or whatever. Um,
There
but
is
you know,
an entire list on Wikipedia called "List of Organisms Named After Famous People." It is very
yeah,
long, and
I want to, yeah. Any notable?
Notable. The first one that jumps out at me is Dio, who is who was one of the members of Black Sabbath. David Attenborough, who is known for doing the history documentaries. He's the stereotypical British voice that people put on when they're doing nature documentaries, whether they know it or not. They're doing an impression of David Attenborough. Trent Reznor, one of my favorite musicians, the leader of Nine Inch Nails. He has a spider named after him, which is awesome. Pope John Paul II, Stephen Colbert, George W. Bush, Pocahontas, wow. Queen Victoria, Matt Groening, Stephen Colbert again, Ellen, Jimmy Fallon, Robert Frost, Shakira. That's like, crazy. Just there's a lot. Terry Pratchett. Johnny Cash, you know, they're just Barack Obama, they're just Stephen Colbert again. So Stephen Colbert has a lot of things named after him.
Stephen Colbert. Yeah, he also has the space treadmill.
He does.
I think he likes putting his name on things.
Stephen Colbert must be stopped.
He's got his name. You got Mick Jagger.
Yep.
Jaggarius, a sea snail. Does the Anomalphus Jaggarius got the moves? Is it good at dancing?
Does it have moves?
But yeah, so it's interesting. So if you're a scientist and you discover a new species, you can either name it based on some sort of characteristic and think of something Latin and be like, oh, yes, that makes sense. Or you can just say, famous person I like. I want to name it after them. I'm not sure if you can name it after yourself. It's one of those things where it's like not good form. Like you can name the asteroid. When you discover an asteroid, you can name it. But I think like you're not supposed to name it after yourself, right? You're supposed to name it after like a friend or someone you admire. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty interesting. I imagine it's the same with species names. It's like, oh yeah, there goes Carl. He named like a new beetle after himself. Like what a narcissist, right? You don't want to be known as Carl the narcissist in the scientific community, right? But yeah, so it's just interesting. You'll get a lot of sort of out there species names that are just based on the scientist's whim. So yeah.
But now we are on to quod species coniecto.
Yeah, quod species coniecto. I forgot what that meant. I think it means guess the species.
The species, yes.
Yeah, there
you go. In the demon's tongue.
In the demon's tongue, yes.
So we each have created a list of 5 animals. But
no particular order here, like in terms of difficulty or anything.
I was going to give you my easiest first.
Okay, I'll do that too. All right.
Because there's one that I'm confident that you will get or get close to. And then every other one, I'm so sorry. I doubt you're going to get them. It's hard.
Yeah, no problemo. Yeah.
All right. Would you like to swing first?
All right. Sure. Does that mean I give it? No, that means you give it to me.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, okay. Baseball.
All right. So, the taxonomical name of this, and I gave it's a specific species of something, so it has the binomial, but if you just give me the genus, then, we're right there.
All right.
This is Panthera pardus. If you need me to spell it, I will.
Yeah, wait, how is pardus spelled?
Pardus is spelled Pardus.
Okay. So I know it's a big cat. And I would guess it is a puma. That's my guess.
Off by a little bit, unfortunately.
Oh no.
Do you wanna guess again?
Okay, I'll guess again. Is it literally a panther?
It is not, but it's close to a panther. You got one more guess.
Oh, okay. Mountain lion.
It is a leopard.
A leopard. Oh, okay. Pardus means spotted, doesn't it?
Ooh.
That would be my guess.
Let me
it
check.
Sounds like it might mean that. Yeah, it's interesting.
Definition. What is the meaning of Pardus? Wait, does it just mean... Okay, yes. So, just because... So it can also just be in relation to a leopard, but in zoology it's used for other mottled or spotted animals. Very interesting.
Yeah. All right, I have a very easy one for you.
Okay.
Panthera tigris.
Panthera tigris. I'm gonna have to go with a tiger.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
Specifically a Bengal tiger.
Tiger.
Yeah.
Very nice. All right. Here, let's go with this one. And I will give you the spelling because I may mispronounce the first one.
Yeah, me too, I think.
Physeter macrocephalus. And that is spelled Physeter.
Physetar? ER.
And then macrocephalus, MacroCephalus. Macrocephalus.
Physeter macrocephalus. I'm running on the cephalus here.
I would say that's
recognizable to me.
Here, let me
cephalus.
Check what that is. Yes, that gives you. So the word macrocephalus contains two root words. That,
big, macro, and then cephalus. I think it's an elephant, right? That would be my first guess.
It is not an elephant.
All right.
Although if you were using this as an adjective, that could it applies to both elephants and this creature. I'll give you the hint that this creature is in the water.
Oh, so it's probably a whale. Let's go with blue whale.
It is a whale. It is a sperm whale.
Okay. There you go. Nice.
Macrocephalus means large head. Let me see what Physeter means. It's a genus of toothed whales. And apparently sperm whales are the only whales with teeth? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Very interesting. So you got that one. Very nice job.
Cool.
We both have 1 point under our belts.
Oh, yeah. We don't need 2 points.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah. All right. So the next one, and I can give you the spelling too. I can put it in chat, actually. So it is Crotalus cerastes. And so that is spelled Crotalus and then Cerastes. So Crotalus cerastes.
Not a lot of help there. Like just in the word. Crotalus cerastes. I'm not recognizing any root words, and I don't know if that's just because of my lack of Latin knowledge.
I don't really see any either, to be honest.
The 2 C's make me think it is under the sea. And I am going to say that this is a lobster.
Incorrect.
All right.
But nice try.
Crotalus cerastes.
Anyway, I'll look up some. I'll see if there's any root words in here. Okay. So Cerastes, the root word, gives it away. But
Okay.
Protalis, I don't even know what that word is translated into English. Here,
Okay.
wait, I gotta look up the English word now. I'm like, what is that? I feel like it might also give it away. What? No way. Okay. So Protalis, I'll tell it to you. It means lobelia, and a lobelia is a flower.
Flower. Okay.
So let me just tell you, I don't feel like it helps, but
Okay. My next guess is this a pig?
no. I think that's what cervid or something, right?
That is a cervid, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking with the CER.
Yeah. Close.
Which of my guesses have been closer, pig or lobster?
Uh,
I feel like that might be a difficult question.
that's a pretty difficult question. Well, let's see. I would say that they're probably both equally close because they're in different. What is it? I forget what it was called. Is it class? They're in different classes, but then in the same. Is it? What's the one above that? I'm forgetting.
In the same order.
Phylum.
Or phylum.
So they're in the same phylum. I'm pretty sure. If lobsters, if lobsters and pigs are in the same phylum, then this thing is also in the same phylum. But I think they're in different classes.
I think lobsters are in different classes. Lobsters are in Malacostraca.
Oh, so they're not even okay. So then pigs closer.
Pigs closer. Okay,
It's
so pigs are probably in I'm forgetting which one the class is. Pigs are most likely in
classes Mammalia, Aves,
right. Okay,
Reptilia, Amphibia.
So it's a mammal. Okay.
Or sorry, it's not in the same class. It's not in the same class. It's in the same
class. It's in the same phylum. Right.
So, the lobster is not in the same phylum, right? Is a lobster in Chordata?
A lobster is. Let's see, lobster phylum. Lobsters are in Arthropoda. No. Okay. So it's in
then
Chordata.
There you go.
It's in
so then
Chordata,
pig is closer
yes.
because
I'm gonna say this is final guess. This is a deer.
Incorrect.
What
the
is
correct answer is rattlesnake.
Ooh.
Yeah. And Cerastes in Latin means adder. That's another type of snake.
That would have been game.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right, that's a toughie.
Yeah, that was a hard one. I think it's pretty cool. Like I some of these names, I'm like, these are cool sounding names.
Oh,
Protalis,
I got a bunch.
Cerastes.
I got a really cool one coming up for you right now. You ready?
Nice. Yeah, let's hear it.
And I'll give you the spelling. Danaeus Plexippus.
Danaeus Plexippus.
Here, I will copy over the spelling.
Cool.
But for people at home, that is DANAUS PLEXIPPUS.
DANAUS. Danaeus Plexippus.
Danaeus Plexippus.
So the thing that's immediately jumps out at me is ipus, like the ending. That makes me think like platypus. So that's my first guess.
It is not a platypus.
Okay. Plexippus.
Let me translate it. Let me see if I can get you a root.
All right.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Plexippus is literally the Latin translation for what the animal is.
Nice.
Let me get Danaeus. Let's see what that is. And Danaeus gives it away as well. They're both just massive.
Massive giveaway. I'm trying to think of what plexi would be.
Uh,
Multi. It makes me think of like multi-purpose. Like, no, that's not what
I will
plexi
give
means as a
you
thing.
the phylum.
Okay.
It is in the phylum Arthropoda.
Mmm. Octopus.
It is not.
Uh,
I think we said octopuses were in mollusca. Anyway.
oh yeah. Listen, for me it's chordata and not chordata. That's where I'm
The
at.
defining
Um,
factor of Arthropoda is an invertebrate with an
mm,
exoskeleton. So
okay.
you're looking for an invertebrate with an exoskeleton.
Okay. So it can't be a crab because I would guess that would be cancer, um, and not cancer as in
Mm-hmm.
cancer. Uh, because I think that came from Latin. But then it can't be a lobster because then you would have known
Mm-hmm.
that mine wasn't a lobster. And it's gotta be like, oh, but it might be a certain kind of crab, maybe. Hmm. Let's say hermit crab.
That's incorrect. I'll give you one more guess.
Ah,
But
okay.
you know what? I'll give you the class as well.
Okay.
The class is Insecta.
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 Oh, I was thinking, okay, yeah, Arthropoda is also all the bugs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, not pleasant. Not pleasant. So it's not a spider because that would be arachnid. It's not. Hmm. Let's guess ant.
It is not an ant.
All right. What is it?
Danaeus plexippus is the monarch butterfly.
Ah, that's nice. Very
Plexippus,
wholesome.
yes. Plexippus translates literally directly to butterfly, and Danaeus translates to milkweed, which is like
Hmm.
the only things that butterflies
Yeah,
eat.
that's true.
So they were
Yeah, yeah.
both just dead
Nope.
giveaways.
Yeah, exactly. That's nice. That's nice.
I like that name, Danaeus
Um,
plexippus.
yeah, I like that too. I'm glad it wasn't any of the icky bugs.
Yes.
At least it was butterfly that is tolerable.
Yes.
Um, all right. So my next one
Oh boy.
is difficult to pronounce. So I'm going to do my best, but then I'm going to send it to you. So Haliatus leucocephalus. So another cephalus here.
Cephalus, so yeah,
But
that's
uh,
usually in relation to um
to
wow, the
head.
double
The head.
E's. That's
Yeah,
rough.
but look at that. 4 vowels in a row.
Wow.
IAEETUS. Well, and then the TUS, but IAEE. That is crazy.
Leucocephalus. So
Here,
Lu-
I'll look up some translations for you.
I'm pretty sure leuco relates to white, if I'm not
Ah, interesting. I will also
incorrect.
give you that Haliatus translates to white in English.
So it is white. Okay, so we got the
Yeah, because the
white.
whole first word is white, and then I'm gonna guess Luco, whatever, is also gonna be white.
So we
Uh,
have the white head.
yeah.
So I'm looking for a white animal with a head, usually with the exception of cephalopods, which are octopi. I would say the majority of things that have cephalus are on land. So I'm looking for a white land animal. What animals are white? White. Why can I not think of any white animals? Is this the... Okay, but it's white head.
So I'm gonna give you a little.
Mhm.
Only part of it is white.
Only part of it is white.
I would say most of it is actually not white.
Is it the white-tailed deer?
It is not.
It is not. Is it the...
Remember cephalus, so
Cephalus,
think
head.
the
Okay,
head
yeah.
is white.
So yeah, the head is white, right. What has a white head? Is this the bald eagle?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
America.
nice. America.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's hiatus. I don't know. I'm not going to pronounce that again. Bald eagle. Uh, nice.
Very nice.
All right. Now it is your turn.
All right. This is a hell of a one. Trichechus inungius.
Trichechus.
So this is a specific species of this thing. Let me get you some translations.
Richechussinungius.
All right, Latin is not giving me anything. Let's try this. Let me do this for you.
Trichechus inungius.
We share a phylum with it.
Okay. So chordata.
Ooh, okay. I'll give you the order because you can see how it relates if you know a little bit about history with mythology. And I was actually talking about this earlier today with someone.
Nice.
The order that this animal finds itself in is called Sirenia, spelled Sirenia.
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 That makes me think of like sirens and mermaids. And then mythology, so... Oh, so it's got to be like an amphibian, maybe. Because in the water... Trichechus inungius. Water snake?
It is not a water snake. You had the right line of thinking with sirens and mermaids.
Okay. Oh, wait. Wasn't it like walruses or something they confused for mermaids?
Exactly. It's the exact thing you're thinking of, but it wasn't walruses.
Oh, no. Seals?
Not seals.
Oh, no.
One more guess.
Oh, jeez. They confused for mermaids. Sea lions?
It is not the sea lion.
What is it?
The humanity.
Oh, the humanity.
It is the manatee.
Okay, yeah.
In specific, It is the Amazonian manatee.
Okay. I always confuse those with walruses.
Yeah.
What is the difference?
Walruses have tusks. Manatees do not.
Okay. I should know that because I'm not sure about where the county line is, but I either live in or am very close to like neighboring Manatee County.
And also, manatees are in warm water, and walruses are.
Okay. Interesting.
But there you go. Actually, I wonder what's the name for walruses, because it would be interesting to see. Walruses. Or just walrus. They are in... So they're in a different family. Pinnipeds. Yeah, no, they're doing something different.
All right.
But all yours. All
right. I have the next one for you. It is the Phoenicopterus ruber.
So that immediately makes me think of Phoenicia, which is what comes to mind.
Yeah. So it's PHOENICOPTERUSRUBER, and I put that in chat. Let's see. Let's see if I can get you some translations here.
Phoenicia. It's near Greece. Ruber. Make rube. It's usually red. Red. Is this a chicken?
It is not a chicken.
It's not a chicken.
Ruber does translate to red, so
Red. Okay.
you are right about that.
Red. Some Phoenicia and the Opterus. This is usually something you hear with like dinosaurs, which is why I thought chicken. Opterus might relate to the arms. So my gut tells me that this is a bird. Mm-hmm. So I'd say it's some form of red bird. It's not a rooster, right?
No. Because you already guessed chicken.
Yeah.
I won't give you that. I won't take a guess.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Red bird. Is this around Greece or in the area, or it might just be named for that area, but something that would most likely be in that area? Red bird. Is this a cardinal?
It is not.
Not a cardinal. Final guess. Red bird. Is this a turkey?
It is not.
What is it?
The answer is flamingo.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah, I don't think they had the distinction between red and pink.
Yeah.
Or at least here they thought of it as a faded red, you know? Yeah, the American flamingo.
Very nice. I like that.
Yeah. All right. Now it's yours. All
right, final one. Physalia physalis.
Physalia physalis.
Physalia physalis. And you should hearken back to...
Yeah, the last one was
one of the ones that you've done. It wasn't Physalia.
Or sorry, yeah, there was the whale
was the whale.
A phys something. Physite.
Let me get you some translations.
Physalia physalis. Physalia physalis. Yeah, what does Physalia mean?
Okay, that kind of gives it away. Let me check.
Oh, okay.
Let me check with something else. Okay, actually, you know what? No.
Okay.
Physalia translates to, and it's actually Physalis is the root that Physalia is derived from.
Mm-hmm.
And it means bubble.
Bubble. Okay. So that could be whales again, because they have blowholes. And it also could be dolphins. I'm going to guess dolphins.
It is not dolphins.
Trying to think if there's another, or if maybe it is another kind of whale. Could it be an orca?
It is not an orca. The phylum is Cnidaria.
Cnidaria. Oh, jeez. So that's not even, so it's not a mammal.
It is not a mammal.
That's unfortunate. Bubbles. Shark? Is it a shark? I know that's not very specific.
It is
lots of different sharks.
A shark.
Well, I have no idea then.
Right.
I think that was my last guess, right?
Yeah.
That was my third anyway.
Here, I'll give you one last chance. Because I just found some new information. Breaking news. It's one of those cases where it's so very close to a thing that you think it is that thing. For the best example I can give you is that you look at a daddy long legs and you're like, that's a spider, but it's technically not. So
Oh,
that
I
just
didn't even know that.
happened with this thing. It doesn't change anything,
Okay.
any clues that I've given you. But in light of that, I will elaborate on its class. And let me get you
Okay.
the root for this. Alright, that doesn't help. Anyways, the class it's in is called Hydrozoa. And Hydrozoas
That sounds familiar.
is a class of very small predatory animals.
Very Hydrozoa.
So you're looking for a very small predatory bubble.
Could it be like zooplankton?
It is not zooplankton.
Oh,
It is
that's the smallest ocean predator. I have no idea.
a Portuguese man of war, which is actually not a jellyfish, which I just found out.
Oh, okay. Ah, that makes sense. Okay. Okay.
I mean, when you say predatory bubble, jellyfish, you know. But
Yeah.
I like the name on that one, the Physalia physalis.
Yeah. Are those really poisonous? Are those?
Yeah, no, they kill people.
Oh, not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. So now we'll go to my last one, which might be a bit easier. We've got the Cervus elaphus.
Elaphus.
Oh yeah. Let's see. Root words.
Cervus. Elaphus.
So when I put elaphus into Latin,
Yes.
like in Google Translate, the English I get is Michigan. Now,
Wow.
that kind of confuses me because obviously they didn't have a word for Michigan.
Would I find
Rome,
this animal in
but
Michigan?
yeah, I think so. I think so. I guess I'd have to check, but I'm gonna guess so. I'll confirm that. But
This service makes me think of cervid. So I'm going to think that this is some kind of pig. Because of that, with the elaphus,
wait a minute, the domain is all Europe? I do not understand. Why would they call it Michigan? That's so weird.
So elaphus sounds like elephant. And cervid is like pig. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say elaphus is in relation to tusks, and the pig is a pig. I'm going to say this is a boar.
No.
I'm going to say this is a pig. That is Michigan pig. What is the Michigan pig?
Michigan.
What is the Michigan pig?
Yeah. Okay, so it's inconclusive. I'm guessing it's from Europe and then became invasive species here, would be my guess.
Oh wait.
As to why it's called Michigan, but it's from Europe.
I forget what the root is, but I remember bunnies, like rabbits, are similar to. I'm pretty sure they have a similar root to pigs, so it might be a rabbit. Is this a jackrabbit?
No.
No. Because elaphus makes me think of elongated or Michigan.
Michigan. I'm like, is Google Translate tripping? That might be.
So I'm going to guess it's definitely a mammal. Definitely a land animal. Definitely a member of Chordata. I mean, if it's a mammal. But,
yeah. Oh, yeah, I should give you that. That it's a member of Chordata.
It's a mammal.
Yeah.
So it has a spine. I'm going to say Cervus elaphus is a... I have a side question. Have I eaten this animal?
You may have. You may have.
eaten it.
I would guess yes, because you've probably. I'm guessing yes, because you're a bit more. You're a bit more adventurous.
I'm very adventurous. I'm a very adventurous eater.
I would be surprised, knowing you, if you hadn't. So
I'm gonna say this is a mallard duck.
it is not.
God damn it! What
so
is it?
The funny thing is, you've guessed this twice before. Like
what?
It's the red deer. I would have. Yeah. So it's a deer.
Oh my God.
You've had venison, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Okay. Cervus elaphus. The Michigan pig is secretly a deer.
Michigan. Yeah. I have no idea on that. Here, wait. I'm gonna do English to Latin, and Michigan. If you translate Michigan from English into Latin, you just get Michigan. So this is inexplicable here.
The Michigan pig. Can we make that a character?
Yeah, that's the Michigan. It's a pig wearing like a Michigan hat and like.
Well, I was thinking Michigan pig, but it's like it's like a cryptid. It's our own cryptid. Like pig is spelled with a Y. It's the Michigan pig, and it's this story of. Let's see.
Actually, I think doesn't Michigan have deer on its state flag?
Yeah, there's a ton of deer in Michigan.
Yeah, so I guess maybe not this species of deer. I don't know. Maybe not. Because it's weird. It was showing the range differently. I have no idea. Weird. I know that there are deer in Michigan, obviously. I'm pretty sure there's deer in like every U.S. state.
Yeah.
Deer feels like a very American animal.
Besides, like
at least in the east,
desert.
Yeah, no desert places. I feel like there's even deer here in Florida. I'm not sure about that, but
anywho,
there are always deer around in Connecticut.
Yes, lots of deer. I saw deer yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
But so that concludes.
Final thoughts.
Yeah,
biology is cool.
Very.
Very.
And fun. Interesting. I like taxonomy.
Yeah.
Just because it's very like neat, and it makes you think of like Latin. It makes you think of root words, which I find interesting as well. And it's just very nicely organized. I don't have much more to say about it. Maybe because I'm tired, I can't think of much. But
but I would like to thank everyone for watching.
Oh yeah. Thank you guys, everyone, for watching. Hopefully you followed along with that game show at home. Could you guess any of those?
I've not looked at chat once this entire episode.
There is not any chat.
Awesome.
We like when people use chat. So going forward, feel free to use chat whenever you want. We love talking to people at home. But people have things going on. I guess it's a busy Sunday today. So with that being said, thank you, Sebastian, for being my co-host as always. And thank you, everyone, for watching. So we will see you next time in the month of May. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.